Anyone know Charlie Toscani?
Go home, FBI.
How'd you know?
I could smell you a mile away.
Well, they told me that even though my deodorant's made for a woman, it's strong enough for a man.
I was at Wounded Knee in 1973. And what I learned fighting the FBI is, you don't believe in us, and we don't believe in you.
For this project, I wanted to explore the relationship that Native Americans have with the modern-day United States. When we were younger, we were brought up in an education system that made it so the colonial history of this country is more prevalent than that of the people who inhabited the entire continent before the arrival of the white settlers. The genocide of Native Americans is an astounding one that is overlooked time and time again, and throughout years of killing, forced assimilation, and the development of reservations, people who identify as such consist of 0.8% of the population and are also known as the invisible minority, as they are so overlooked in our society, which is easy to do as they are hardly represented in any forms of mass media that isn't a stereotype. The cause of their anonymity is no mystery. It's our lack of education and understanding of these people, and after how many years of mistreatment, many still refuse to acknowledge it ever happened. An example of this form of ignorance is the holiday of Thanksgiving. And for us, it's a day of food and football, but for many Native Americans, they participate in an event that is called the Day of Mourning, as this day that is celebrated by millions across the United States serves as a reminder of the genocide of Native Americans, and the process in which their land was stolen from them and their culture nearly wiped from existence. While researching for this project, these topics came up a lot, and I decided to look back to Rousseau, focusing on the true founder of society. The first man who, having enclosed a piece of ground, to whom it occurred to say, "This is mine," and found people sufficiently simple to believe him, was the true founder of civil society. How many crimes, wars, murders, how many miseries and horrors mankind would have been spared by him who, pulling up the stakes or filling in the ditch, had cried out to his kind, "Beware of listening to this impostor. You are lost if you forget that the fruit are everyone's and the earth's no one's." I also decided to look back on the Indian Removal Act, as it showed firsthand the government involvement in the eradication of Native Americans, and this is supported through Chief Joseph's narrative, which recollects the abuse and mistreatment of him and his people when under government surveillance. This piece highlighted the social relations between these two groups and at the time, and there can be problems with making these kinds of connections. For my artifacts, I decided to use pieces of art, ones that are more recent. One is a set of photographs titled The Red Road Project, which are pieces shown here, shot by Carlotta Cardana in association with Danielle C. Walker, a Lakota writer. They use these photos to show how Native Americans express their identities in the modern age. As Cardana says, the photographs tell a story of what it means to be Native American in modern day, and how the culture has survived some of the most horrific events in American history. Cultural genocide is the buzz term often heard in Native American history, yet the true history and identity is not often unfolded to the masses. This project intends to highlight many tribes across the country and to depict just how resilient these indigenous people are through their inspiring messages and positive actions of saving their culture. While the objective of this project is not to highlight all of the known issues and historical trauma of the Native American people, it is important to discuss those topics because it puts into perspective how much this subculture of people has had to overcome. Hopelessness, despair, addiction, suicide, and loneliness are words often used to describe this culture, but words like beauty, inspiration, peace, kind, and strong are what the Red Road Project portrays. Another artifact that inspired my writing was a piece done recently by the artist Alex Pentek that is titled Kindred Spirits. This piece was made as a response and as a thank you towards the Choctaw Nation as they helped Ireland during the Great Famine. They sent $710 to the country, which is speculated to be worth $1 million in today's currency. With their contribution, they were able to feed starving families, and the fact that 16 years prior, the Choctaws went through the pain that was the Trail of Tears only made their act of kindness all the more significant. The formation of the feathers is in the shape of a bowl, representing the Great Famine, and the use of the feather alludes to the Choctaw ceremonial dress. As Pentex states, it is my aim to communicate the tenderness and warmth of the Choctaw Nation, who provided food for the hungry while they themselves were still recovering from their own tragic past. I have also chosen feathers to reflect the local bird life along nearby water's edge, with the fusion of ideas that aims to visually communicate this act of humanity and mercy, and also the notion that the Choctaw and Irish nations are forevermore kindred spirits. With both of these pieces, I was able to visually see the relations between Native Americans and the world, whether they be good or bad. I was also inspired to write about Native Americans as they are so often neglected, yet they have such a rich culture, and I hope projects like these continue to develop as they help expose the community and remove stigma attached to their way of life.